Hey guys, it's the Box Store Craftsman. Today we're going to be talking about our rigid oscillating spindle sander. And if you're not familiar with this particular model, John over at workshopattic.com recently did a review video on this. Pretty in-depth and pretty good stuff. You need to go check it out. Today we're going to be building a sanding jig to fit our particular oscillating spindle sander. So if you have one of these, or you're considering buying one of them, check out John's video first and then come back here and learn how to build our sanding jig. Stick around.
Well, we'll begin at the end. This is the finished jig and how it looks sitting on the spindle sander. I like repurposing material. This is actually a side from an old computer desk from years ago. I've just had stored away, waiting for a time to use it. This seemed like a good fit. The dimensions are 29 3/4 by 19 3/4. Seemed about the right size. I start by removing the factory stop. This is secured with a small 1/4-inch knob. This will serve as our pivot point for our new jig. I measured carefully and drilled a hole to correspond with the factory hole in the sander. I used Gorilla Glue to secure the nut into the top. After it dried, I took a 1/4-inch drill bit and removed the threads so it's a nice smooth bushing. Using a drill bit and a jigsaw, I cut out the section that fits around the spindle on the sander. With the center section cut out, I attached the table to the sander and used the sander itself to get that custom fit on the right side of the table. With the pivot point established and the material removed that fits around the spindle, I can now establish the arc that the miter slot lockdown will fit into. I scribed a line at 37 degrees from the corner that meets up with the center of the spindle. I'm drilling holes every 2 inches to allow for pretty much infinite adjustment. With our holes drilled, I needed something to act as a bushing in the holes so we didn't wear them out in the melamine or particle board. So I had some 5/16 water supply line laying around the shop, so I cut that to insert into the holes to act as a bushing. A little water in the holes, a little more Gorilla Glue, and insert the tubes into the holes. When you get the stuff on your fingers, unless you wear gloves, a little acetone or some fingernail polish remover will take it right off. Attaching the jig is very easy. It only takes just a few seconds. The miter lock goes into the miter slot. Slide the table over. On with the knob. And then my homemade knob goes into the pivot point into the back. Just snug it up. It's still got a pivot. You can see here the adjustment capabilities that the jig has while fully supporting your workpiece. Here's a neat little accessory you can make to go with your jig when a through hole in your workpiece is not desired. I have layout lines on here as well as on my blank, and a couple pieces of double stick tape. We'll be ready to go. Just line up your lines and your workpiece should be centered. Now it's the moment of truth. Let's see if it works. Alright, one more accessory to show you for this jig because this video is getting long. I can never sand a good arc or radius on the end of a board. So I made this jig to help with that. I measured down 3 5/8 inches on my workpiece and made a line. Then found the center point of my workpiece, and then using a compass, I drew the radius on the end of the board. Now I go to my small jig here, line up the marks. We should be ready to go. Now it's a matter of finding the appropriate hole and then adjust your table to square your jig up. Tighten it down. You're ready to go. Well guys, that's the box store craftsman's version of a sanding jig for the rigid oscillating spindle sander. Maybe you can build one as well. If you do, shoot me an email. I'd like to see it. Thanks for watching.